but I'll do this quick. It sort of nicely tucks in with what we just heard about prediction markets. Every time we do such an Agent Unleashed, we update on something that happened in the Olas ecosystem. We call it Olas Evolutions. That's what I'll talk about today. So for those in the audience who don't know much about Olas, last time I presented, well, not last time. In Denver, when I presented this, we were almost, we launched this concept of staking, and then last time I presented, we were almost done deploying it. We are now done, so that's live, and that has meant that now Olas enables this kind of different form of staking on 6 chains. What's different about it? Well, in an abstract sense, as an end user, you sort of stake your tokens, but you're actually staking your tokens on an agent, and the agent, you can think of it like your agent. It's your agent. It's your worker, and the agent goes out and is being active in different use cases. Right now in prediction markets, and it actually gets these staking rewards. You know, in a normal blockchain, it would get them when it validates nodes and doesn't validates transaction and doesn't misbehave. Here, it gets it when it hits the KPIs of the use case in question. So this is live. It's fully functioning, first system of this kind. It's like basically Olas is defining on-chain for its workers, its agents, what they have to do, and then they go out and do it. So thanks to Olas staking, we expected that we would have many more agents coming online. That actually did happen. I mean, we're still in the super early innings. But just to give you a sense, these are what might seem low numbers, but they're real numbers. So we're going from 35 to 124 daily active agents. That's the key metric we're now tracking, which basically means there's like some operator running an agent. It can be you on your desktop or in the cloud. And then that agent is continuously active in these use cases, being a daily active agent. So one question we often get, like in the Discord, is like, okay, well, what do these agents do? And even like the operators sometimes are like, okay, what do these agents do? And it's sort of logical because the agent is very abstracted. You're not necessarily having to understand what it does, which is one of its value propositions. And so there's various use cases live. You can follow this link. One which the DAO uses every week, sort of autonomously, is that the social media account posts based on like what an agent writes. There's an autonomous governance use case. A protocol called CreatorBits, which I think might be up next on stage, has built agent influences, which you can use today. I'll talk about prediction markets, and then earlier at the previous event, if you were there, we introduced a new autonomous trader kind of agent called Optimus. But I want to talk about this prediction markets use case. So we heard it, a very fascinating area, prediction markets, for humans and AI. And we also heard these 3 roles which prediction markets needs. So one of them is the entity that creates markets. One of them is the entity which ultimately closes markets. And then in between, the actual fun part happens, which is all the entities that trade in these markets. And this can be a human, right? So a human can go to a UI like Polymarket or Zero and participate in these prediction markets by effectively, if it's binary markets, buying either side of the market which they believe in, and then eventually that market resolves, and they might get a payout. Now, when we started building this with the ecosystem, we realized very quickly that there's an opportunity and a requirement here to split up the agent the user runs into multiple different types. So we introduced this concept of agent specialization. And that might initially sound sort of confusing to you, because often when people talk about agents, they kind of jump into the future. They talk about agents like they're like us. They can sort of general purpose, do anything today, and then like you go and like you look into it and it's like, that's not the reality. Agents today are somewhere between like hard-coded bot, like rules-based system, and this general purpose kind of AGI-like thing which can do anything you want it to do. Specifically, they are hybrid between rules and learning-based system. And so because they are like that, you do need specialization, and it even makes sense. If you think about it, when you set about building such an agent, one thing you could be doing is you could spend an awful lot amount of time training a model to sort of engage with prediction markets on the fly and sort of, autonomously every time it engages with, let's say, Polymarket or Azuro or Omen, which we use, and figure out like how to use this like interface and then sort of use it and then forget about it again and next time do it again and then occasionally we'll make mistakes. That doesn't make sense. You can hard code that. You can actually give a co-pilot to a developer, develop it once sensibly, and then use that as a rules-based system. But if you think about the predictions themselves, you can't hard code that feasibly because you can't like enlist all the possible prediction markets that could ever be created. Clearly not. So that's where the learning-based system comes in. But with that observation as a developer and as someone who wants to actually deploy a system which end users will want to use, you then also realize that it's just not going to happen that an end user will run an agent on their device, which is arbitrarily like powerful in terms of the models it can have access to a deep learning-based system. So you need to outsource that, and that's exactly sort of one of the key paradigms of Olas, which is that we always have specialized agents. So agents specialize in one or two things, which they do well, and then they might offer that service directly to their end user, i.e. the one person operating it, or they might effectively be a service provider to another agent, right? And so what you then have is agent-to-agent trade, and I can't underline it enough. Anyone who goes around saying that there's no AI agent-to-AI agent trade is just bullshit. Like, basically happens all the time already. It's just that not everyone knows about it yet. We had over 1.1 million transactions like that. And one big trade always happens by the trader going into these markets, right? Taking these positions on either side of the market. The other thing happens as a agent-to-agent trade, where agents trade information around these prediction markets so that the trading agents don't also have to do the researching and have all the capabilities around how to predict the future. Now, another big thing which I think came out of this model, panel, and is still underappreciated, is just like what AI agents slap on anything, sounds good, right? But is it actually a thing? And I fundamentally believe that AI agents and prediction markets is actually a thing, not only because we have it live, but also because we can reason about why it is a thing. So one thing I mentioned before, we have AI agents today, hundreds of them, participating in these prediction markets. So it's clearly a thing. Now, they are clearly faster than humans, right? If you think about you as a human making a decision about a market, unless you wing it, you're going to have to go research various sites maybe, use your own world model, i.e. what you think is true, and then make that decision, click around, eventually have this transaction. Your agent will be long gone, has moved on to the fifth market since then, right? The next thing is infinitely scalable. Well, you might do that a couple times and then you don't bother, you go eat a lunch or whatever. Your agent literally just does that. It's specialized to trade in markets, just does that. It's also, not just vertically, also horizontally scalable. I mean, you can just have more and more and more and more agents as long as there's a demand side which continues to grow, the supply side will just magically grow. And the next thing is that it improves as AI improves. So whilst we humans are probably always going to be at the level of predicting the future, which we have been since, well, ever, AI won't be at that level, right? We have seen that in our own benchmarks, which are publicly accessible in Hugging Face, where they just get better, right? The underlying models get better, plus like the RAG you can do on top, plus all the other things you can do on top. So this is not just something static in the sense of the technology, it's also like accelerating like this. The other thing is prediction markets are for autonomous AI agents. I made this argument earlier. Ultimately, when you have an AI make a decision, well, what is an AI agent? It's like some sort of architecture plus one model or multiple models. Ultimately, whatever that model spits out is sort of interpreted as the truth or like, the be-all end-all by this agent. That's not always actually a good idea. Sometimes you want to query a lot of models. So you can either do that yourself, but then you still have the problem if I just call 100 different models, well, how do I weight that, right? Like, do I take an average? How do I do that? Do I weigh by some ranking I believe in? Well, prediction markets solve that for you, right? Like you outsource that to the market to decide for you. So prediction markets are for autonomous AI agents. They offer the long tail, like any market any agent can think about can be served as long as there's a demand side. Specialized subjects on things humans have no knowledge about. I think there was also a comment earlier around like the model needs to know it. Well, you don't have to have the information trained into the model, right? Like the models, you can think of them as sort of world models in some sense. And you can then do some RAG on top, like retrieval augmented generation, where you effectively go out, you feed it some more information, and then that can already give you sensible predictions about things which are happening now, which weren't present when the model actually was trained. And then finally, low barriers to entry, like with your autonomous AI agent, you can try it, olas.network/operate. You can just throw in any budget you want, and then it can go out and do its thing, and you don't have to be there. As I said, this is very real. We had a bunch of transactions already. On the benchmark, that's the highest accuracy achieved so far. That doesn't mean always they achieve this accuracy, obviously. I mentioned that statistic earlier, and this also actively leads to staking, because as I mentioned before, active agents stake and then kind of get rewarded for the work they do. In May, we unveiled this app called Pearl. It's gone through many sort of user feedback iteration. It's still in alpha, but probably leaving that quite soon. Lots of community members in the room actually helped make it better. You can try it yourself. But what we kept getting when we asked users about like their experience with Pearl is like, where can I see what the agents actually do? So here, Chris, who I met earlier, posted about this, actually added a nice explainer. And it's a valid question, right? Like some users are these users who just want to operate their agent and benefit from the staking rewards, and their agent goes away and works. Other users want to really understand what the agent does. And the thing is, an autonomous agent is a complex thing, right? Like roughly speaking, it perceives stuff, has like internal complexities of the model, the rules, and then ultimately it acts. So like looking in and understanding every single decision it makes is maybe not the best thing. But what's very interesting is to see the actual outcomes they create, right? And so we finally made that now possible. You can look now at the markets themselves. There's finally a UI which is also again in beta. So currently there's around, I think, 10 to 15 markets which the agents create. You'll see various updates in the coming weeks to really scale this up and make it relevant to current events. And these are all very short-lived markets. So one question we had earlier is like, okay, well, when the liquidity is bound up for a long time, is this interesting to people to participate? Well, with the AI agents, we're currently really focused on having a fast iteration. So all the market creators, they open markets which are short-lived, like a few days. And then you kind of get very quickly this iteration cycle where you can see how well do the agents do, you can resolve their rewards, and you can also improve the models, right, and the agents themselves. So if you want to check this out, please go to the site where really the intent we have with this over the coming months is to turn this into a place where you can see the future unfold. So the idea is really have the agents make these micro predictions about things, have you as a user be able to inspect those, see which went well, see which went poorly, and as a participant in Olas, you can go to the site and effectively see what your agent is doing. That's, by the way, not possible today. You can't see your agent-specific view today, but you'll be able to see it in a few days. So yeah, please check it out. And that's the end of my talk. I want to invite everyone to run an agent. It's real. It gives you an experience of what it's like using Olas. And in particular, your agent becomes a productive participant in this agent economy. And the closing point here is we all care about some forms of user-owned or co-owned AI. We all care about AI that ultimately is, in some form open source, yet monetizable. We have a path with this towards that because we're creating a massive flywheel where the agents get better. Every agent that joins the ecosystem generates more data, which makes the agents better. So you can really contribute to this today with all our partners who are helping us make this better. So thank you very much.